Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli, back in the studio. Got a wonderful guest lined up for us today. I want to welcome to the podcast Sheila Keene Davis, aka She, aka Redefining She. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is kind of exciting.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I don't know that we have met in person, but I know our paths have crossed. I have seen you at different events in downtown Macon at some of the art galleries and that kind of thing. And I wanted to reach out to you because of your mission, what you're passionate about, and helping women and the voices of women and girls and helping them that they can do anything and they can achieve anything they set their mind to. And I'd like for you to, if you would, read your bio. Now, what I ask folks is for the artist to send me a little bio, and sometimes I like to share that. I like to read it, or I try to read it. But hers was such that I just felt I couldn't do it justice. So I wanted Sheila here, if you would, to share your bio with us.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of read it and ad lib
Okay,
as I can.
that's fine. That's
All
fine.
right, so I am she, and that is short for Sheila, and she works really well for my business, and also I have two grandbabies, and they named me she when they,
Oh,
got
okay,
speaking age. So it has
gotcha,
a multi definition there. So I'm
gotcha.
she or Sheila. I answer to both, and I am the creative force behind Redefining She. For more than 20 years, I was a robotics engineer and a software developer in the Department of Defense arena. And I always knew that I wanted to do something different at some point. So I planned to retire at 50, made sure my retirement accounts were invested properly, and that's what I did. Retired at 50, and I taught myself how to do mixed media art. And I wanted to not just do the art, but have art with a mission. So now I design art and gifts that empower women and girls to be bold and to be brazen and to make herstory. I'll tell you about herstory in a moment.
All right,
um, and my basic mission really is to kind of smash out those outdated gender norms that often women and girls find themselves in because that's what society tells us we're supposed to do. And
right,
it's about designing your own path in life, because I believe very firmly that women and girls can be anything. And I want to remind people, the girls, the women, and the world that that's the way it is. And I want to do that through my work. And the herstory part of it, which is the second big part of my mission, I want to spread herstory throughout the world, not history, but herstory, because our stories, women and girls' stories, they're not told often enough.
right,
One reason is we didn't write the history books.
right,
So the way
right.
I do that is I put a slightly hidden date in every design that I create, and I also include a QR code. And if you find the date and scan that QR code, it will tell you a short story about a woman that you may or may not have ever heard about in herstory. And so I create original art. I have art prints. I have stickers and greeting cards and journals and coffee mugs. And you can find those locally at the Bohemian Den, or you can find them online at my website or in hundreds of shops across the country.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I tell you what, we're going to include folks in the show notes, contact information for her. We'll put a link. We'll put the links in there to your website and also how people can go to any other sites and see some of your work or purchase some of your work. So that's one of the main reasons I do this. I mean, it's kind of twofold or threefold. Is one, to hear your short story, hear your her story, okay, and then also to promote you and your artwork and help artists get the word out and promote their art and sell their art. So that's one of the reasons I do this as well, because I've learned so many and found out about so many wonderful artists out there, and sometimes it's hard to get your name out there and let people know, hey, how do I love your work, but how do I purchase it and that kind of thing. And that's one of the goals that we have here as well. But I love your story. I love the mission that you have and what you're promoting. What was you had this background in robotics and software engineering, and I have a background in software engineering as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, many years ago. I mean, back in the '70s, late '70s. I'm showing my age, but I started off as a computer operator at Georgia Farm Bureau, and I went to different places all across Middle Georgia and working in my IT career, and ended up at Geico for 22 and a half years. And that's where I retired about 4 years ago. But yeah, so our backgrounds are kind of similar. But did you have a vision back before you retired of, hey, I want to get into this art stuff? Where did that come from? Where does the artsy side of you come from? Because you go from robotics and software engineering, and then all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to create this art using this mixed media. So where did that come from?
I think it probably came from maybe my dad. My dad is one of
Okay.
those men that has a shop full of junk. But if I
Yeah,
tell him,
yeah,
Dad, I need something to hang my bicycle on my garage wall, can you make me something? And he'll go in
right,
that shop and pull, 4 different pieces and create this very functional, usable, sometimes good looking thing.
right.
And so he's very creative that way, and he makes birdhouses and all kinds of, just things in his shop out of nothing. And so I think I get my creativity from him. And also my sister and I, when we were younger, we would make earrings just out of things and sell them. And so I don't know, maybe just my family is where it came
Yeah,
from. But I
yeah.
did not exercise it during my entire professional career very much at all.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
So were there any art classes in high school or college or anything like that, or just
Um,
any at a young age, I kid some artists, and I said, oh, you were born with a crayon in your hand, and so right out of the womb, I'm drawing something on the walls, kind of thing.
yeah, no, that
Yeah,
wasn't me. I was
that
born
wasn't
with
you.
a book in my
Okay,
hand.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, gotcha.
So I
Yeah,
remember in junior high school, I took an art class and I took a drama class, and that was it.
yeah, okay,
So from there on out, it was very technical, even in high school, because all of the pre-college classes back then, were the sciences, the chemistries,
right, right,
the maths, and such.
right.
So it was very technical from there on out until I retired at the age of 50.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, because a little bit of my story is, I took art in high school. Middle school is what they call it now. Well, it was eighth and ninth grade back then. It was junior high, and as we talked a little bit before, I think I grew up in Macon, and so I went to high school there. When I got in high school, started dating in cars and motorcycles. I forgot all about art. But anyway, about a 40-year period goes by, and I used to draw fairly well. I mean, I did some real good pencil and charcoal drawings and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed it. But life and work and family and all this kind of stuff, you're so busy. And one day, right before COVID shuts down everything, it's like January of 2020, we're in Hobby Lobby, and I always, maybe it's just in my blood or DNA, I gravitated toward the art supplies. And I go one way, my wife goes another way. We still do that today. And all of a sudden, I'm back there and I'm looking at stuff, and she comes up and she say, "Hey, I got this gift card from Christmas from Hobby Lobby. Won't you buy you some art supplies and paint and stuff?" I don't know where that inspiration came from, but then all of a sudden, boom. So here we are 6 years later, and who would have thought 6 years ago that I'd be having a podcast and doing paintings and landscapes and stuff like that? But yeah, it's like all of a sudden, boom, you're set free, and all of a
Yep.
sudden I see that in you of this stuff has just been laying there, okay,
Oh
and
yeah.
kind of dormant. And then all of a sudden, wow, you have the opportunity. And let's talk about your art. How would you, it's mixed media, what kind of, what is there a certain style that you think it is, or is it because you use a lot of different pieces, incorporate that into your art, but it's not so much, it's the written word as well as the visual side as well. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, words are
Yeah,
very important to me.
right.
They have
The
a lot of
message
meaning.
that,
The
yeah.
message is
Hmm.
very important. Words are very important. Those dates I put in there are very important.
Right.
And I kind of build around that. The reason I picked mixed media is because there's not a lot of rules associated with it. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
I knew for sure I was not a finely trained artist, and I
Okay.
never would be. I didn't want to go down that route. But
Right.
with media, you can kind of do whatever you want, use whatever elements you want, and you don't feel as much like an imposter, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons I went with mixed media. And it's just kind of fun because there's so many layers that you're building
Mm-hmm.
on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what you start with is vastly different for me anyway, what you end up with, vastly. And I've had as many as 12, 13, 14 layers on top
Wow.
of layers before I get to
Wow.
something I'm
Yeah.
satisfied with.
That's something that the
Yeah,
final product,
yeah,
basically. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's my style is very chaotic in one way because there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of color and texture going on, but also very engineeric in other ways
Okay.
because
Okay.
I want to make sure my words are straight, and I want to make
Gotcha.
sure that the scale of the girl or the woman that I'm drawing is accurate, unless I want it to be wonky. So
Right.
there's a
Right.
lot of very engineering calculations into it, but also very chaotic and wild because I love all
Yeah.
the textures and materials.
Yeah. Do you feel a pull or a conflict sometimes because hey, I'm trying to be creative and all this kind of the wild, but I got to make sure this is straight over here to
Oh
get this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If I could turn my camera, you could see all my rulers and my squares
I
and
got
my
you. Yeah.
levels and that stuff. I mean, it serves a purpose, but when you've
Right.
done that your entire life, it can be very confining. And so you have to remember, okay, don't do that right now. Get outside of the box a little bit.
Right. Right. So, why women? Why the voice of women? Where does that come from? Okay.
Um, Lived experience,
Okay.
honestly. When I graduated high school in 1983, I'm also aging myself.
Okay.
And I went to Southwest. Where did you
Uh,
go?
Southwest 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So when I graduated, it was still the largest high school in the country.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
graduating class was about 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated in 83, there were three primary paths for young girls to take. You could get married and have a family, go to college and become a nurse, or go to college and become a teacher.
Right.
And there were definitely other options out there, but they just weren't readily apparent because
Right.
this was
Right.
before
They weren't
Google.
emphasized. It's
They
like, hey,
weren't.
you're either going to do this, or this. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I mean, I
Yeah.
would go to a family reunion, and I remember one of my aunts said, well, what are you going to be going to college? Are you going to be a nurse or a teacher? And
Yeah.
I was very naive about that. I didn't understand that there were just these three options. My
Right.
brain was like, well, I know I can't do those two. I don't have the skill set for teaching or nursing at all.
Right.
And I wanted to be married one day, but not right now. It's too
Right.
young. So anyway, the best plan I could come up with that was affordable in a very middle income family was to go to a local college. And so I applied to Georgia Tech and I got in. And all I knew for sure was that it was technical. It had something called engineering, and it had this class called artificial intelligence. I had no idea what that meant. And it did not have a nursing or a teaching degree. So I was like,
There you
okay,
go.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah. All right.
And so
Now
when I
that's
got there, uh,
But that's something going to Georgia Tech back in the 80s because you graduated high school in 83. So what, 84, 85, you're at Georgia Tech and not many women probably went
exactly.
at that time period. And then for you to get into IT because, even, going back to my early career in IT, there weren't as many women, in IT. Back then we called it data processing, but, that was way
Yeah.
back a long time ago. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of chime in
Yeah.
on that.
Well,
That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
my lived experience too. When I got to Georgia Tech, almost from day one, I
Okay.
looked around and there were not a lot of people that looked like me. And
Right. Right.
I didn't realize that was going to be that way until I arrived. Um, I didn't know there weren't going to be a lot of women up there. I
Yeah.
didn't, and I've looked back since, and the data says that the percentage of women at that time when I was there was about 21%.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I got into my career field, I worked for Northrop and Intergraph Corporation, and a couple of other DoD contractors along the
Hmm.
way, and I had my own software company for a while as well. But there were not a lot of women in the conference room or on the shop
Right, right,
floor, and it got better toward the end of my career, but it was still not equal. And I was
right,
very naive about that. I just didn't understand that much inequality existed in the world. And
right.
so the fact that, I felt like I was kind of being put in a box when I graduated, people telling me you got to do one of these three things. And then I go into a school and a career field and there aren't a lot of women there. That had a profound impact on me, profound. And my experience also in the working world is just, women have obstacles that we have to overcome that men don't.
Right,
It just is true, it just
right,
is.
right,
And so you learn how to work within the confines of what you have to, to not
right.
get fired and keep
Yeah,
your
yeah,
job. And I
right,
had a great career. I loved it and I was very successful. But I always remembered that it was so much different for a woman in this field than a man. And
oh
none of
yeah,
that was okay for me.
right, right,
Yeah, and so I knew when I retired, I wanted to do something that would maybe have a positive impact on those kinds of things and help young girls and young women know that there are things you can do about it. And, you know, it took me about a year to figure out what I was going to do in retirement, but I do think I ended up in the right place.
I think so too. I love your story, this background story. I mean, it's so fascinating, and uh, the life experiences that you've had, in firsthand experiences of what a woman back in the '80 time period, um, going through this, and I'll throw this out, in a man's IT world, you know, with a major institution like Georgia Tech, like you said, 21% women, so, and then two, trying to get out in the workforce back then as well. Uh, Challenging. It's still challenging today for women.
Mhm.
Women are discriminated against, the salary as well, although there have been major strides over the last several years, in helping to remove that. And it's like, hey, salary shouldn't be based off what sex you are, right?
That's
So
true.
it's like, can you do the job? Yes, this is what you're going to get paid. And when I worked in IT and I was in management, I didn't care. You know, it was like, hey, this is the job. This is what we're paying. Hey, you got it. So I didn't look. So, well, he's a man. He's more a provider. Hey, because there are women that are providers in the home. There are women that I know that make more than their husbands. There are stay-at-home dads. It's Society's different now, but I think there's still those stigmas and other, uh, putting women and young girls in a box,
Yeah.
and so these you're limited as to what you can do and what you should do. And I love that you are maybe in a way rewriting history and rewriting her story. And folks, when she says her story, it's Herstory, right? So it's
Right.
instead of history or his story. And I hadn't thought about that until now. His story versus her story. So yeah, I love that. This is so cool, and I appreciate you being on the podcast and sharing some of that with us today. Um, what do you find most challenging about the art that you create?
Well, there is not. I'll start with what's not challenging. What's not
Okay.
challenging is finding women's stories that you've never heard of before.
Oh,
I mean, they're all
yeah.
over the place.
Right.
I have
Right.
learned about so many women that I have never heard of in my entire life. And I've
Yeah.
always been very, you know, some people would call me a feminist. It has such a negative connotation, but I've
Right.
always been hyper focused on women and women's rights. And man, there are a lot of women out there that just the stories aren't in the history books because
Yeah.
we didn't write the history books. And
Right.
that's just not okay. So that's the easiest part is finding inspirational women to highlight. Um, let's see, what is the hardest part? Probably for me, that middle, the actual art part, the middle part. Starting it is easy, finishing final touches is easy, but there's this middle part. that a lot of people refer to as the ugly stage, where you're never going to
Yeah.
believe this stuff on this canvas is going to turn into something
Right.
in any way good. I mean, sometimes that will take me a month to work my way through, and I just have to
Okay.
leave it sitting there, and I'll just walk by it every day, and just eventually something will come to me, and I can
Okay.
finish it. But I'm a slow noodler, which cannot be the greatest thing to be in if you're an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have like a little process you go through? Because I know with me, I have this process, and I remember in IT, and a guy that we used to work with, a guy came in years ago, and we would work with junior developers sometimes, and we said, "Hey, look, you got to plan your work and then work your plan, right? So, what is your plan? You know, says okay, if you don't have that plan, how are you going to accomplish, what you need to accomplish? So you have, and so I have a process, and if I deviate from that process, things don't turn out quite the way I'd like for them to. So do you have a process? It sounds like you have kind of a concept in mind, and maybe here's a story I want to tell, and you start, and that's kind of the fun part, like you said, and getting things going. And then after a while, it's like, yeah, here's the ugly part or the hard part in bringing it all together. Uh, so how do you overcome that? How do you what is it that you do? This is like you said, hey, I got to leave it for a little while and walk away. So do you have multiple projects going on that allows you to do
Absolutely.
that? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
All the time.
okay,
And
yeah,
I'm a little bit
yeah.
ADHD, so
I I think majority of artists are ADHD and introverts. So it's
yes,
like yes,
me too.
no, yeah,
So
yeah,
introverted that I never
yeah.
raised my hand in school ever,
Oh
because the
yeah.
idea of people looking at you all at the same time like freaks me
No
out.
public speaking. Don't want to get in
Yeah,
front of
yeah.
people.
Hate
Things like
all that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Overcame it because you have
yeah. All
to
right.
if you want to have a
Yeah,
career, but
yeah.
don't like it necessarily.
Right, right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think I'm very organized in my work life. Like
Gotcha.
um, computer programming used to be very
Yes.
hierarchical and structured. Now it's more
Right.
modular, but
Oh
I
yeah.
learned the very hierarchical way of programming, and so my mind works that way. Step one, step two, step three, step four. So I always
I'm the
start
same
with a
way. Yep.
woman. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I
Yeah.
start with a woman. I do my research. If I'm going to use any vintage photos, I go to the Library of Congress. I figure out what's going to give me the right look and the right, pose or whatever.
Right.
I go ahead and write up her little story, the snippet that I'm going to use. I get it onto my website in draft form. I create the QR code. I mean, all those technical pieces, I tend to do those in the morning hours because I'm way more focused.
Yeah.
And then once I get that kind of planned, I'll figure out what size canvas, what the scale is going to look like. And if it's a complicated one, I will go into Photoshop and get the correct dimensions and try to get the scale of the woman, where she's going to fit best on the canvas, that kind of
Right.
stuff. I'll kind
Right.
of sketch
Yeah.
it out very, very
Yeah.
loosely.
Right.
And that gives me enough of a map, I guess, to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar to some of the things that I do. And your background, in IT and thinking about structure, and I had to have the plan. I mean, I had to. Way back in the day, there was the Franklin day planner, and I had everything written out, and what I was going to do, and what project I was working on, and how to start them, and all that kind of stuff. In a way, I'm kind of like that, still today. Although I don't have a Franklin day planner, I do have Outlook, and I use that a lot. But yeah, it's I'm like you. I have multiple projects going on because of ADHD or whatever kicks in. It's like, okay, I got to go out in the shop, in the garage, and work on creating some panels or something, or work on a picture frame or whatever. I got to get away from that, then come back and then see, okay, I need to work on something a little different, and have fresh eyes, because
Yeah.
that's good too. You got to step
Yeah.
away, and of course, in doing landscapes, it's like, and even portrait work, you got to step away from the canvas, not get up so close, because you can't, see things that well up close. It's the whole picture, big picture. So step back, take a look. And then I've had an artist tell me, he said, just leave the room for a little while, then come back, go get you a cup of coffee or a drink or whatever it is, and then come back and look and say, oh, yeah, here's what I need to do next. here's what I need to incorporate into, the painting here, kind of thing. So I love that. I love your process. There's a method to the madness, when you think about it.
I guess so,
Yeah.
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 That is the hardest part, though, Victor, is
Yeah.
like I want to finish. I'm like an achiever. I
Uh-huh.
love
Yeah.
achieving, love.
Yeah.
And so if I can check a box and say I'm done,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
but it's better if you walk away, get out of the room, step back. But man, when you're just like so close, it's a struggle to make yourself stop. But ultimately, you figure out a way to do that. But sometimes it takes hours.
Is it a challenge sometimes to say, okay, it's done?
Oh God,
Or,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
a lot of oil and acrylic painters, it's like, when do I say it's done?
yeah,
Because
for
there's
sure.
other little things. We see things in our work that others don't see.
Yeah,
And, it's just special, like when you're creating a painting, speaking for me, is I know where the flaws are and somebody else may not, but it's like, that little corner over there didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to.
yeah.
And but yet it's a beautiful painting, beautiful piece of art. But would you say that every time you create something, you learn something new?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
do get
yeah,
better. Like when
yeah.
I look back at my very first work and I'm surprised people bought stuff.
I hear you.
Not that bad, but
No, no, no,
it's
no. I'm sure it
yeah,
was good, but
yeah.
I mean, because you've been painting how long now?
Oh, gosh, 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah,
So look how far you've come in 10 years, and you probably see a piece that you did 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that.
that's right.
I
That's
do that
right.
too, and it's been 6 years, and I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, I've just watched you progress over the years. How you even within the last year or two, how things you've gotten so much better in your work and everything." And that's the thing is just always be learning, always be growing, always getting better and improving. Um, so yeah, I like that. We have so much in common. I tell you, this has been great just talking to you a little bit. Um,
Hey, Victor,
so
can I take a pause for 1 second?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
I didn't turn my phone off, and
that's okay.
I don't want you to hear it. So let me turn it off
No,
real
no,
quick.
no, no, not a problem. Yeah, I had to do that earlier because,
Okay.
I said, oh gosh, I need to make sure I put my
I
phone
made
on
sure to unplug
vibrate.
my person that I won't say her name. I unplugged her. I turned off all the things that but I forgot my phone.
I,
So sorry
I
about
got you. I got you. Not a problem. Hey, I want to pull in some of your artwork. Let's
that. Okay.
talk about that. Okay. So just going to bring this up here, and I apologize. I'm going to zip back to the beginning here. All right, let's talk about these two pieces here. Um, Sheila had sent me some photos, guys, and I plan to use some of these if it's okay with you on Facebook. Okay,
Sure.
so as I promote the interview on Facebook and Instagram, I want to pull in some of your artwork so it's out there, and I probably may use one of these as a thumbnail on the YouTube channel. Okay, so
Okay.
let's talk about the one on the left here. What inspired you to create this work of art?
So yeah. So both of these pieces are part of a series I just completed called Resisters or Resistors, however you want to
Gotcha.
pronounce it. And they're more serious than I typically create. Um, and it's because early last year, things were happening in our country, and it felt like for me the first time in 60 years that women's rights were no longer going forward; they were going backwards because rights were being taken away from women. And
Right.
women's rights and equality never happens fast enough for people like me, but at least my entire lifetime, they were moving forward. But all of a sudden, they just were not, and things were getting taken away, and executive orders were being put in place that were directly impacting me and people in
Yes.
my
Yeah.
community and my family. And it was
Right.
maddening and it scared me. And this body of work grew out of that just feeling of unsettledness and not being able to effectively push back in any other way except put it on a canvas and put some words to it and put a story to it. And that's kind of what brought this on. Both of these ladies in both of these paintings are real suffragettes back in the day, in the early
Right,
1900s.
right,
And
right,
they fought for our rights to vote, women's rights to vote.
right,
And
right,
they were imprisoned, they were starved, they were tortured, they were force fed. I mean, horrible things happened to these women just so we could have the right to vote.
right.
And today, as I stand here, there are people in our government trying to take back that right to vote for women. They're trying to constrain it and confine it to make it more difficult. And so part of this work is about looking at the struggles we've already been through once. We're going through them again. And none of that's okay, y'all.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing this up because, when you start removing our history and trying to rewrite our history, what happens is we start repeating it and we
Absolutely.
forget what we've come through and gone through and that kind of thing. And as bad as some of our history may be as a country, and there's certain parts of it that it's like, oh my gosh, I wish that hadn't happened. It did happen, but let's learn from it, let's move on, let's be better, and let's not repeat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't
So
rewrite it. Don't whitewash it.
yes,
Don't make it better
yes,
or worse than it was.
right.
Just
That's
tell us.
right. Right. Just tell us this is it. It might not be pretty, but it is what it is. Okay. Good. I like these two pieces here. And you talked in your bio about how you create notebooks and journals and stuff like that, and I thought that is so cool. And then later, I want you to talk about where people can find some of your work in the different places that are out there across the country.
Okay.
And okay, all right.
All
So
right.
let's talk about these.
So I think the journal, I think that the words came first. And these she's an example of one of my more humorous young ladies. I'm trying to make a point and it's a little bit funny, but what I try to do is come up with something I really believe in, like, yeah, the patriarchy will not slay itself. We got to keep moving forward. We got to keep
Right,
fighting. We got to keep doing all this stuff. And
right,
I try to pair the girl with the words, and sometimes I want them to be very conflicted. I want it to look like maybe a very nice young Southern young girl that is beautiful and you wouldn't think would say these words, but sometimes I go a different route. So
right,
just all
right.
depends on the mood I'm in, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
also try really hard to use different types of girls that look differently, and it took me a couple of years to get good at painting Black women and Black girls because I couldn't get the skin right. And it came to head about 2 years into when I was doing art. I was in a show with another lady about my same age, and she was a Black artist. And she was looking at my work and she said, I really love your work, but I don't see anybody that looks like me.
Ah,
And that, she was right. And I
yeah,
said,
yeah,
you're right. You called me on it. It's true. I have
yeah.
tried doing Black skin. I have not been successful yet, but you know what? I'm gonna go home and get
Keep
successful at it.
trying.
And so I
Yeah,
did. And so
keep
I
working on it.
appreciated, yeah,
Right.
I appreciated that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I try to represent everybody because we're all different. We all look different, but at the end of the day, we're human beings. And
That's
sometimes we
right.
just want to
That's
see
right.
people that look like us.
Yeah,
Um, and then,
that's true. Yeah.
and of course, the lady on the right is Shirley Chisholm,
Right.
who ran for president in the early 70s and was made fun of and mocked. But I mean, she stood the test of time, and everybody knows Shirley Chisholm's name. And
Yeah.
so this was
Yeah.
kind of my homage to honor her.
I love what it says here, and I brought it up on another screen, and so I wanted it to be bigger so I could read it a little bit better. But if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. I love
And
that.
yeah, and she
You
said
know.
that. I mean, those are her
Yeah.
words. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're still true today. I read an article a couple of years ago about the lack of women in C-suite jobs, the CEOs,
Right. Right.
CFOs.
Right.
There's not a
Exactly.
lot of
Uh huh.
women still
Yeah.
today. I mean, the numbers are in the 20s and 30s,
Yeah.
if that, maybe not even that much. But when women first started getting the C-suite jobs, there were no bathrooms for the ladies at
Yeah.
that level. And so
Right.
they would have to
Right.
climb downstairs or go down elevators
Go
to
down
find
a
a
couple
bathroom.
floors. right.
Yeah, because there's no
Yeah.
ladies' rooms. So same thing. There were no
It's
chairs or bathrooms for ladies in Congress, and now there
yeah.
are.
I so appreciate what you're doing because there's still corporations today that there's a good old boy network
Oh yeah,
and racist, bigoted people that are running some of these corporations, large companies, and it's sad and sickening. So thank you for all that you do. Yeah. All right. What's this one on the left here?
so this is some girls fear the fire, some girls become it. Um, I love this for young girls who, like me, are super shy and we're
Mm-hmm.
scared of a lot of things. I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
such a shy young girl, and if they could just see this and see themselves in this painting of this young girl who looks very timid sitting there. Um, but if you can just kind of look at the words and embrace the meaning of that and get a little bit of that fire in you, maybe it can inspire you to get outside of your shell and go do whatever it is you want to do in life.
They
So,
have it. They have it in them,
oh yeah,
and it's encouragement like this and helping them to realize the potential that they have and that it's inside them already, and it's just bringing that out. I think
yeah, yeah.
helping
Being
them.
bold
Yeah,
enough to bring it out and brave enough to
mold
bring
enough.
it out.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So the one on the right, interesting.
A little bit snarky. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's okay.
asked, yeah,
That's
he
okay.
asked, what's your
Yeah.
favorite position? And she said CEO.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Because who asks a guy that?
Oh, I
We don't
know.
do
Really. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting. All right. Let's see here. Um, these are a couple of the mugs that you've created. And how does somebody go about finding a mug if they're interested? Can we go
You
out
can
to?
find, yeah, you can find them on my website,
Okay.
redefiningshe.com.
Okay.
You can also find them locally in two locations. Sweet Eleanor's on Poplar Street in downtown Macon. It's a coffee
Okay.
shop. And the Bohemian Den on Cherry Street. That's a gift shop.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
You can also find them in more than 100 shops across the country. I'm mainly a wholesale seller for
Okay.
my journals and my stickers and such, but I do sell to individuals online as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good. And here's a couple of you working in your studio, being
That is,
a
yeah,
creative there. So,
yeah. That's a few years back, and it's actually in my old studio. I moved to downtown Macon a couple of years ago, so I have a new studio now, and it's actually
where's it
smaller.
located at?
I'm on College Street. Are you
Oh,
familiar with
okay.
downtown Macon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you know the Federated Garden House?
What block is it in on College
It's
Street? Is it
beside Mount DeSales. Mount DeSales is
okay?
behind me and to the right, and I'm right across the street almost from St. Paul's, the
I got
church.
you. I know
Yeah,
exactly where you're at. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
have a house there, and I spent a year and a week renovating it, and we built a garage in back, and my studio is above my garage.
Okay. So that you live there in the house and you got your
Yep,
studio there in the back.
yep.
That's wonderful that you have a separate place that you can go out to and be creative.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need that. I need the separation because I
Yeah.
tend to work all the time if left to my own will. Yeah.
Yeah. My little studio is above our garage. It's a bonus room above our garage. One of our kids lived up here before they moved out a few years ago. But then once they left, I thought, I'm going upstairs above the
Yeah.
garage. And so
Nice to have a little
it's
hideaway.
yeah, I mean it's still, in the house, but it's not, down on the same level and just around the corner from everything. I mean, I can go down and to the kitchen if I need to and get what I need out of the refrigerator. But yeah, it's not detached, but it's still part of the house. So, yeah,
Hmm.
that's so cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing some of your art with us and talking a little bit about some of your art and everything. Um, You have a show going on right now down at Making Arts Alliance. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, last year I thought, maybe I'd like to do a solo show in an art gallery.
Right.
The things you think about at
Yeah.
3 a.m. when you wake up.
Yeah.
And
You do that too. I mean, I
yeah,
wake up at
yes.
3 or 4 o'clock in the
Oh my
morning and I'm
God.
wide awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
like
wake up and it's
4,000
like, I got to
things.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I have a good friend who is an incredible artist, Cedric Smith. Do you know Cedric?
I know who Cedric
In
is.
town?
Yeah.
Okay, so I go and chat with him at Rabbit Hole
Hmm.
periodically. And so I was in there one day last year and I said, so I think I kind of want to do a solo show. How does one go about doing that, Cedric?
Right. Right.
And you know what he told me in all of his infinite wisdom? He said, well, you just ask, Sheila. And so I crafted me an email and I sent it to Making Arts. And before I sent it, I actually I know a young lady who is the director there, Maria Andrade. And
Oh,
so I
yeah.
told her, yeah. So I said, I'm going to ask for a show. Where do you think my chances are of getting one? And she's like, oh, yeah, just tell them your concept and, submit it and see what happens. And so I did that. And, a couple of weeks go by. But then the young lady wrote back. And at first she said, um, yes, we'd be happy to have some of your art in the window. Just drop by some pieces whenever. And so I went back to Cedric and I'm like, Cedric, they didn't say yes to the show. They said I could put art in the window, but that's not what I want. I want my own show.
Right.
And so
Right.
he told me so this is all just a story to tell you that, I'm 60 years old and I still am, afraid to put myself out there because I'm not a trained artist and I don't know what I'm doing in this world, but I asked, I got it. The
Yeah.
show is there. Tons of people showed up opening night. I've already sold pieces. And
Fantastic.
the stories of so many women are hanging on the walls and people are talking about them. And
Right.
that's a success to me. So,
It is. It is. Yeah, it's a challenge. I've talked to different artists, and I have like a little mastermind group, and that's one of the things we talk about and have talked about is, getting into a gallery and a gallery that will accept your work,
yeah,
that will help promote you as an artist, and it's putting yourself out there. So a tip to those that might be watching this, either you're an artist watching it or you're about to, become an artist or whatever, you have to put yourself out there. And Cedric was right. You have to go up, knock on the door, and just ask and say, "Hey,
that's right.
this is what I'd like to do," et cetera, because it's we have to put forth the effort because people aren't going to necessarily come to us because they may not know about us,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
And there's so many artists I find out about and says, "Well, I never knew." And the good thing about doing this is most of the time, it's almost like the referral business. You sell something to somebody and they say, "Well, give me 5 referrals," and then they get 5 referrals, and you go on and on from that. And it's like I found out about artists from artists, and then I reach out, and my list of artists keeps growing and growing and growing. So it's like, oh man, I've got so many people I need to reach out to interview. But yeah, it's putting yourself out there, folks, and just be bold. Don't be afraid, and get out and promote yourself and ask. Just open
Yeah.
your mouth and ask.
Yeah.
And one of the good things about doing this little podcast too is that we talked about this too is it's hard to talk about ourselves in front of people, but
Yeah.
doing this is to me so much easier. It's almost like, hey, we're sitting in the living room, or I'm sitting there in your studio, and we're just having a chat about art and who
Yeah.
you are, and it helps people to kind of rehearse. Hey, I can do that. It's not too bad. I know what to talk about. Hey, I talked on Victor's podcast, so hey, you can do it. Yeah, so it's so cool. So what's next for you? So this show is going to be down there through the month of April. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So still time to
So
go out and see it.
great. And they have extended their hours down there, I believe, till 7 p.m. in the evening, which is wonderful because it
Yeah.
does give people more opportunity in the evening to go down and weekends and things of that nature, which is, I think, much needed. And I'm glad that they decided to do that. So what's next on the horizon for you?
Um, well, I will continue to build my business of new designs for journals and mugs and such. That's always ongoing. um, I am the featured artist, I believe, for the October Downtown Macon First Friday at the Bohemian Den, and my show is going to be something loosely based on bloom in Let Equality Bloom, something like
Oh,
that.
okay, okay,
So I'm going to do maybe some florals along with my message of equality for all, also with stories about women, of course. So I have that going on, and I have started a new line of greeting cards that are more refined and not quite as chaotic, but also
okay,
have the same kind of, here's a test sample of one of them, the front, and it says
okay.
resistors, and it's got the female symbol, and of course, there's always a QR code on the back that tells you about a woman that you may not have heard of. So I'm constantly doing all kinds of things. I'll probably do making little theater lobby artist next year. So yeah, it's just all over the map, Victor. You know how it
That's
is with
good. That's
ADHD
good.
people.
Oh, I know, I know. But you have to uh, be looking on the horizon and seeing what's next and what's coming up, because so often it seems like, especially like with artist calls, my experience has been I find out about them too late. It's
I
like
know.
the
Yeah.
deadline's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Well, you just started promoting it. How am I supposed to,
I
get
know.
involved or do anything for it? So we should expect some new work for your October show, and
Yes.
that's exciting.
Yes.
So that's exciting. So folks, you need to stay tuned. Please follow her on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, so that you can get notified of what's going on with Sheila's work and where she's going to be next and everything. So I'm excited for you and happy for you,
Thank you.
and everything. So I've got some questions I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit here. They're kind of the rapid fire questions. Okay, they're not. Okay.
I'm
All
not
right.
a quick thinker.
All right. You but, but not a problem. You can do it.
Okay.
What's your favorite holiday and why? Well, see, that's not hard. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so let me just say a really short thing. I'm not always good at knowing exactly what I want or what I want to do, but I'm real good at knowing what I don't want or don't want to do. I can tell you what my least favorite holiday
Okay.
is
Okay.
these days, and it is Christmas, believe it or not, because
Okay.
it's become so commercialized.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the part that I just find
Yeah.
so disappointing.
Right.
I love the spirit of Christmas. I love
Yeah.
the beautiful trees and decorations and the idea, and that's probably my favorite holiday if you take away the commercialization of
Right.
it. And
Right. I'm
so
with you on that. I
yeah,
can relate to that. I've had several people tell me Thanksgiving because it's not as commercialized, and we need to remember Thanksgiving because it seems like we go Labor Day, Halloween, boom, Christmas,
I
and
know.
it's
Yeah.
like what happened to Thanksgiving? So yeah, okay, well, good. Thanks for sharing that. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh wow. I would want to be able to twitch my nose like Bewitched and be in different countries because I have learned to hate flying. And I'm a nervous flyer. So if I could transport myself to
Yeah.
different places quickly, that would be it.
That's a great one. That's a great one. For me, I'd like to do time travel, but that would be great. All right, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah, one of my favorite colors. All right, if you had unlimited resources, can you describe for us what your ultimate dream studio would be?
My ultimate dream studio would be exactly what I'm standing in here, but I would probably increase the storage because my boxes are now in a place where I have to bend down and go into the crawl space and get them. Um,
Gotcha.
but what's so cool about this studio is it's in downtown Macon. I have windows, skylights, windows everywhere. I can see church steeples almost from every window, a different church. I
Wow.
see Mount DeSales students. I see the sunrise in the morning. It's magical. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
magical. So
Yeah.
exactly where I'm at with bigger storage.
That's good. That's good. Um, I like my space, although I'm upstairs, and so the roof, the walls are short. They're probably 4.5 foot, and then they
Yeah.
slant up. So that
Yeah.
takes away of a lot of wall space. But storage is the main thing. Ask my wife; she'll tell you, honey, you can't keep putting this stuff in the extra bedrooms. We're running out of wall space and storage space and closet space. So yeah, storage is a big thing for me. Yeah, I like that. So, um, do you have any advice for anybody that is just kind of starting out in their art career and maybe, you know, looking at doing some mixed media and that kind of thing? How can they maybe improve their skills and get better at what they do? Any advice for them?
So what's so great about this time we live in is there's so much media online
Hmm.
that's free to access.
Yeah,
And I taught myself how to do mixed media art looking at free YouTube tutorials.
right.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
And, once you get to a certain stage, you might want to pay $50 and get a paid tutorial. But there's so much out there. Just start doing it. Start doing it. Don't just watch the videos, start doing it.
right.
And if you like it and you want to make something out of it, keep going. And then you got to go put yourself out there into the community and to the art galleries and to the people that may want to buy your stuff. Go to art shows, go to the
Right.
local ones first, then go to the big ones. I go to the Mart, the Atlanta Mart, the New York Mart, the San Francisco Mart, the Dallas Mart. That's where you get wholesale clients if you want to create products. That was scary. And I don't like doing it because it's crowded and there's lots of people, but I really wanted to create products. So
Yeah,
I just did it. So put yourself out there and just start doing it.
great words of advice. Sheila, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been a treat, and I've learned so much. Your story, how you got started, your background in IT and working for the government, and I'm sure that was challenging itself. And you experienced a lot there. Your educational background, different, not having an fine art degree and everything, and I think too part of the message for folks is you don't have to have a fine art degree to
It's
be
true.
an artist or a creative. Um, and sometimes some of the best artists are not those that have had, degrees, because there's so many other wonderful things that you could do and learn on your own. And I agree with you about tutorials, YouTube, Google it. You can find out so much. It's wonderful the time that we live in and the technology that we have that allows us to do that. And taking advantage of technology allows me to be in my studio, you in your studio, and we're having this wonderful conversation. But it's been fantastic. But thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
And thank you because you highlight people like me who may never have gotten noticed any other way. So thank you for doing that. I know you didn't you interview my friend Disto Moore, the
I
photographer.
did.
So you
Well, we have we Hazel Caldwell and I interviewed him
that's right.
about over a year ago because she and I started a little podcast, and then we weren't able to continue, unfortunately. But we had interviewed him because he did a show there at Greenlight Gallery, and I tried to get him on, and I need to get back with him because he was having some technical difficulties the day that we scheduled it. So I need to reach back out to him. But my list all of a sudden it just keeps growing and growing, and so and I told I interviewed last week. I had Rhonda Sunshine Miller on,
Yeah.
and it's like it's no, it's not that I don't want you to be on the podcast. It's just that the list just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's like, oh my gosh, I need to follow up with this person to get back with them. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I need to get Disto back on
Well, thank you for
and have
doing it.
him on
Thank you for
there.
highlighting
Yeah,
all of us because
thank
there's some
you.
great
Yeah.
artists. Yeah.
Oh, and please email me if you know of some that I haven't interviewed, and that's the message, folks out there. Please, my contact information will be in the show notes. You can reach out to me and let me know of artists that are in the Middle Georgia area. If they're in Forsyth, to Milledgeville, to Perry, wherever. in the Middle Georgia area. I'd love to have them on the podcast. So please let me know who these wonderful artists are. We'll do our best to get them on. And I know some are wonderful artists, but they're very shy and uncomfortable about doing this. But hey, it's easy. You can do it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Please like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And take care, everybody, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Thanks, Sheila, again. We'll see you.
Thanks. See you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. We really appreciate our audience and would love to hear about other artist stories you'd like for us to share. Please email us or leave a comment. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Please like and subscribe.